Right, we're going to get started then, because we've not got a lot of time. So you'll have all pulled down the GitHub repo. So this is going to be React State Management. So that for those that want to code along, as I say, don't feel pressurized into keeping up. If you can't keep up, just sit and enjoy yourself, and hopefully take something away. So the first thing we're going to do is we've pulled down the repo, and we're just going to go into the terminal, and we're just basically going to run npm run dev. We are. Help if we run npm install first.
npm install first,
yeah, and then npm run dev. And you can see here, we've got our application. So this is basically just a basic e-commerce site, but as you can see from the code, it's using what's called prop drilling. Now, prop drilling is a concept where basically you have all your state in React at a parent level or at a top layer level, and then what you're going to do is you're basically just passing it down to every single component. So you can see here we're passing the basket through to the navigation. We're then passing it to the product page. The product page then passes it to the product list. The product list doesn't even use the basket. It just basically just passes it again onto the product card. Then the product card then actually uses the basket down here. This is really unperformant. Like, it's not optimal. Like, it's not the way to do it. You're basically just passing stuff to components for the sake of having to get it to the next component and on into its children. As a result, what we can do is, if we take a look and we open up the code editor, the inspection tools for dev tools, we can see that if we open up the console, you can see here you've got app reloaded, product page reloaded, product list loaded, and then each one of the individual cards is loaded as well. So then if we click add to basket, that's updating the state of the application. So it's passing all of these, it's calling this method all the way from product card and set basket. It's passing that all the way back up, and it's drilling back through to the app.tsx. As a result, all the child objects are going to have to re-render because app.tsx is re-rendered. So then once that re-renders, all the children re-render at the same time. So you can see here, every time we're clicking add to basket, it's rendering all of these again, which is not optimal because they don't need to be re-rendered. We don't need to re-render the product card. We just care about the basket. So how do we make this better? Well, what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to delete all of this because we don't need that. We're then going to go into the basket, and we're going to get rid of the basket because, again, the navigation doesn't care about that. So we can get rid of that code. That doesn't care about any props. So we don't need the basket anymore. And you're probably thinking, why are you just deleting everything, Grant? Like, where's all this stuff going to come from? Like, we need this stuff, right? Well, we are going to get to that. So then if we go into the product, we can get rid of all this. We don't need them anymore. We don't need it in here anymore. We don't need all them. We don't need all of this. We can just get it, and you can already see that it's so much cleaner just by getting rid of all this unnecessary stuff. Product list is going to be a lot easier. We don't need all of this anymore. So we don't need these. We don't need the basket and the product. So you can see here, it's already cleaner. I'm just going to import these from a TS file that I've created already with all the products in. And then if we go into product card, we don't need all of these. That's just going to take a product. So you can see we're already tidying stuff up. So this is going to break now. If we try and run this out, it won't work because obviously we've just deleted half the code. So what we're going to do is we're going to use what's called a global state management system, and that is Zustand. Now, if you're not familiar with Zustand, which I imagine you're not, which is why you're here, it's a global state management library that allows you to store your state in a global area without affecting any of the other components. So the first thing we need to do is just go into your terminal, open up a new tab, and you're going to run npm install, if I can type properly, Zustand. And that's basically going to add our Zustand package. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a folder called store. And inside there, we're going to create our store.ts file. And then in here, we're basically just going to do import create from Zustand. Now, to make this 10 times quicker, I'm going to do a blue Peter, and I'm going to get one that I created earlier. So in our, there should be, is it not? Let's have a look. I bet you I haven't put it in the snippets, so I'll have to type this out by hand, but it's good. So we're just going to do export const use basket store. So what you're doing, if you're familiar with creating custom hooks in React, this is pretty much what we're doing. So you're writing create, and then we're going to give it a type, which is basket store. And then we basically just create a function in here, and we use the set method. So set, and this basically just creates our initial store of what we want to store in the store. So we've got items, which is an array. Then we've got a total of 0, so again an initial value. We want an add basket function, which is going to take in a product, and then we're going to basically get the existing item, because we want to know, obviously we're going to update the quantity, so we're going to take the state, apologies, I'm trying to do this half from memory and half not. Yeah, I was hoping to, I thought I had this copy and pasted somewhere, but clearly not. So we do state.items.find ID equals product.id. So what we're doing here is we're just going to basically get the existing item, then we're saying if existing item, if it has one, we're going to return a state item. We're going to update the items basically by saying state.item.map item. I don't know why I didn't put this in the snippets folder. Would have been so much easier. I think I probably did, and then it didn't actually copy across. So we set the ID is equal to product.id. Then we're going to basically spread the existing item, and then we're going to update the quantity basically. Is item.quantity dot plus 1. Otherwise, just return item. And what I'm going to do is import that because I didn't do that earlier. And basket store we need to just put that type in. So we need to create our type. So obviously with TypeScript, you always need your type. Basket item total is going to be a number. And then we've got add to basket is going to be a function that takes in a product and then returns void. Then we've got our basket item. So we do export type basket item. And that's literally just going to be a product of product, and our quantity is a number. Cannot type under pressure. we've all been there, haven't we? So what have we got? Set. The what? Sorry. Line 21. We've got. Yeah, that should be. Yeah, I think we're just needing. That's because we need to finish off this function. So we've got return, and then that's that, and then else. We're going to return an object of items, spread the state of items with a new item of product, and quantity equals 1, because that's going to be the first time we add something, and then the total is just going to be the state dot total plus the product dot price. And then I need to figure out where this rogue bracket needs to be. It would have been so much easier if I could just copy and paste this. Add basket. It's in the state. 37.
No, I think it's wrong. That's what you got. Here, you've got
After.
item, and then it's close bracket, comma. You've just got comma. You've got an extra comma after on line 27 at the end.
Line 27 at the end.
Far end, yeah. And then I think you've got an extra close bracket after total on line 30.
So don't take that off.
Yep.
And then that's. That's the if statement.
You've got a semicolon here after your return.
There. And then
Comma after the close bracket on line 38.
on there, comma.
Yeah.
This is the thing, like it becomes like bracket hell. It's annoying because I can't get this from here. Oh yeah, yeah, I can. What am I doing?
So you had it here the whole time.
Had it here the whole. I was just seeing how engaged you were. That was all. Look at that.
How did you fix that?
Just a masterpiece. So now we've got this store. So basically what we can do, I don't know why we just didn't think of that before. So what we can do now is we've got the navigation panel. So what we can do now is we can just start pulling in those values. So we can do, we can basically do const items equals use basket store. And then we can do state dot items. And then obviously we can pass, we could build something in there just to do like span, I don't know, items. Why is it not like that? just put it in. So, and then what we can do is we can pull in total. So you can do const total equals use basket store state dot total. So now if we go back to our app, it's probably still broken. And then what we'll do is we'll put product is not defined on product card. So basically that means we need to go into our product page, we have the product list, and then we're just going to pass in as product into here, which is going to be type product card props, and then we're just basically going to give that a product. And then I would just make that inherit from react.fc of type product card props. And then that means that we can then get the product. And then you can see here we need the basket, but we don't need this function anymore. We've got this huge, big add to basket function that we can just get rid of it. Bye. And then we can just do handle add to basket. And then what we're going to do is, where do you think we're going to get this function from? The store. Add to basket equals use basket store. And again, we're just going to pull out state dot add to basket. And you can see already it's just so much cleaner. And we're just going to pass in the product. It's really hard to type on a small thing from back here. I know, but there's a lag on it, so yeah, when one screen isn't enough, right? So, and then what we do is we just go back to the on-click event down here, and we're just going to go handle add to basket. And what am I missing? I think the add to basket needs to be of type. This is where TypeScript's going to pick us up, because that's not going to be of type on click event. It's not assignable to mouse over button event. Don't need that, because we're going to pull in the product from the product that's passed in anyway, so we don't need it. And then we're just going to leave it as that for now, so that should, in essence, run. Cannot read properties of undefined reading name. Product, dot image, product.name. All the fun and games of live demo mode. There we go. Because I hadn't put the product on. So all we do there is do product equals product. Get rid of that. Fingers crossed. Way! We're back to running. So you can see here now that if we click add to basket, it's adding code. But if we go to navigation and we just log out the nav, because we're not logging that out, so we just do console.log nav rendered, you can now see that when we load the page, we've got nav rendered, product page, all the product list, But when we click add to basket, what is getting re-rendered? Only the nav, because nothing else is subscribing to that global state. So we're not re-rendering each of the product tiles, we're not re-rendering the whole page, we're not rendering the product list, we're only rendering the items that are subscribed to that store. So it's a lot more efficient because you're only rendering one component rather than 7 or 8. So that's the basics. Now, the problem is we'll look at, if we take a look at our, was it our product card that we were using, navigation. You can see here, you've got quite a lot of things here. Like if say you're subscribing to more than 2 or 3, it could get quite an extensive list of like saying, register this, register this, register this. So what we can do is we can bundle them up into like a one object. So we can do something like const, and then we can basically create like a destructured object. So you can do like items total equals store, use basket store. And then what we can do is we can we can create like our own object of like store dot items store dot total. And you can see here we now have we're creating like our own like anonymous object. Now that's much cleaner, right? However, it breaks our app. And why is this? So you can see here we're getting an error of maximum update depth. This can happen when a component repeatedly calls set state inside itself. So what this does is obviously the store management system, Zustand, it uses, unless you specify, it will do a by reference comparison. So when an item is rendered, it'll look at this and it'll see items, this anonymous object, it'll see that as a new reference every single time the page re-renders, because it's creating an anonymous object it's destructuring your store to create a new object. So it's going to be a new object every time it renders. So then what happens? Well, the subscriber says, okay, there's a new object, reload. Oh, there's a new object, reload. And you get into this loop of reloading. So what you need to do is you need to tell it. Now, funnily enough, Zustand just updated about a couple of weeks back into version 5, and they added this new thing that I didn't know about, but I found out about it quite luckily before this session. And basically what you do is you can use a use hook now called useShallow. And basically what this does is you wrap your entire object in useShallow. And all this does is it tells it to do what's called a shallow comparison. And all that means is it's basically, rather than looking at the reference, it's going to actually look at the actual object contents inside it. So it's going to look and say, okay, yep, I've changed. So now when we reload the page, it's working because it looks at that destructured anonymous object and says, okay, yep, it's not a new object, nothing's changed inside it, I don't need to re-render. So now when we click through and we add to basket, it's not going to re-render that page continuously. So so far we've ripped everything out from app.tsx file, we've upgraded with the Zustand store, we've added an add to basket function, we've tidied up the code base, and I think you can agree, like, it looks a lot tidier. We don't need all of these imports for unnecessary baskets. We don't need, the product page is a lot cleaner now. It just cares about rendering a product list. The product list only cares about the products and how it's going to map and call its children. We don't have any reason to re-render this component. The product card then is just it doesn't need to have a lot of the logic. You can extract that logic back into the store. So all your logic is kept in one place. If you wanted, you could rip all of this out and you could stick this in a helper function and you basically just call that from within here rather than having this get quite bloated, because obviously now if we go in and we add, say, a remove basket option, which I've got the code for just here. Ta-da. It's almost like I planned it, right? So if we just say, right, we're going to add a remove option, it's as easy as that. We've added it in. We've said, right, we've got a product ID. We're going to go through the items and find the item.id, which I just need to update this, because this is going to be now item.product.id, and that's going to be product.price. That's going to be product.id. And now what we can do is we don't have to pass that remove from basket function anywhere else. So where would we like to use it? Well, how about we stick it in the checkout page? So let's go and update the checkout page now. So we can just do const basket equals store, use basket store. Come on. It really wants it. That's why I'm just going to change it to state. So we can get the items, and then so we can do that, and then we can do. Actually, we'll also need the total. I'm just going to do it this way because it's easier to see what I'm doing. State.total, and then we can just basically go through and get rid of this basket prefix because we're no longer needing to pass through the whole basket object. And we can do total, and then what's that complaining about? Items. Why doesn't that like that? Items does not exist on. State.items. That's why. Trying to destructure an object that is an object itself, because we just need total. So now if we go to the basket, we can now get this checkout. So if we go home and, I don't know, add in a couple of Atari, and we'll stick in some PS5s, go to the basket, you can see we've only got 3 items, and then the quantity we've got 4, 3, 4, with a grand total. But how much simpler is that? So all we've done is we've just updated like 2 places. So, you know what I mean? We've not needed to go into the checkout and start adding add to basket and remove to basket and all this kind of stuff. And then what we can do is we can just add a handle remove from basket equals remove from basket. Use basket store. Are you all following along pretty well? Is it all going in, or does it? You just like what? Midway. That's good though. Like it's one of those things. It's always going to be tough. Like it's a new thing. You know what I mean? It's. This is one of the things. So like obviously this is why I wanted to push up a repo, just so it was easy for you guys kind of to go away and do it in your own time, or like during like work time, you can just have a look at it. What I'm going to do is at the end of this tutorial, everything that we've done in this session, I'm going to push up as a separate branch called end of session or something. So you've got a starting point that you can pull down on main. Then if you pull down the end of session branch, you'll have all of this code that we've done. So you've got a bit of a reference point of what it should look like, or I can't remember quite how to do that or whatever. So that should be a bit handier. So yeah, we've got our checkout page. So we've got this remove from basket, and then basically we can just stick another button in. We'll just stick in a button, I don't know, underneath the quantity. We'll just stick in a button, and we'll just call that remove button. And then we'll just give it an on-click event of handle, what do I call it? Handle remove. There we go. Remove from basket, that's the one. So, and then if we go to our basket and we go boop, 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 we've got stuff in our basket, go to the basket, we can then go remove, and it doesn't like that. Surprise, surprise, what have we broken?
You've called it.
Ah. Right, okay. Calling itself. Remove from basket, and then we'll just do product ID. So we need to pass in our product ID. And then we basically just need to wrap that in an anonymous function, call item.product.id. Now you can see every time I'm reloading, it's clearing the store. I'm going to get onto that and how we can fix that in a second. So you can see there, we've removed the whole item. We can remove everything. Obviously, we could update the add to remove basket function to update the quantity and all that kind of stuff. But for this purpose, it was just kind of to show you that that's going to remove the items. But obviously, in our remove function, what we would need to do is we'd need to update the total as well, because at the moment we're just updating. It should be removing the price, but for some reason it's not. But what I will show you is I'll show you how to, before we finish, I'll show you how to persist that state. And it's really easy with Zustand, which is one of the reasons why I really like it, because all we need to do is wrap our whole entire store in a method called persist. So we wrap all of this in persist, and I believe, if I can remember rightly, we wrap it in persist, and then at the end we put in an object of name. We'll just give it a name of like basket store, and then storage, create JSON storage, give it a function, and then do session storage. And I cannot remember for the life of me where this object needs to go. Pretty sure it goes inside. Does not want to. So now, if we reload the page and we put this in here, and we've got like loads of massive PS5 controller distribution, and then we reload the page. Not Siri. Ta-da! So now, that's now sitting inside our session storage. So rather than being in your local storage and being persistent across the lifetime of just ever, as soon as we, obviously, if we were to open this up again, then we close down that session, it's gone because it's only within that tab. So as soon as you close the tab, it's gone. If you wanted to, if you were doing like an e-commerce site or something and you wanted to make it so that actually I'll keep it in local storage, all you need to do is go into your create JSON storage and change that to local storage. And then obviously it'll stay in local storage. And then I think there's some parameters that you can give it to say like, only keep it in local storage for a certain period of time, which is going to be handy if you were doing something like an e-commerce website or say like an online shopping website where you want stuff to be like, oh, I've closed my basket down. I need to go back in my basket. What I want my basket to still be there. But like I say, it's really powerful. Now, you might be thinking like, why we've been going through this, like, oh, why wouldn't I just use context? Well, that's the main. So useContext doesn't have. So like, say for example, you see here we've got selectors. useContext doesn't have that. So like, firstly, we'd have to go to say like the app, and we'd have to wrap this entire thing in like a context provider. So you've got your provider from React context and stuff, and you'd have to wrap your whole app in it, which then means that your whole app is then surrounded by this context. It also means that if we went to like navigation, for example, in context, if you're using context, you'd have something like this. You'd have like context equals use context. Yeah. And then what you would then do is you would say like, I don't know, const items equals context dot items. By doing this, what you're doing is you subscribe into the whole context. You go back to that same problem that we had before. Do you know when I was saying if anything in that context changes, your whole app is subscribed to it, because useContext doesn't have the notion of selectors. So like in here where we can say, I only want to listen to store.items, I only want to listen to store.total, you can't do that in useContext. You have to basically get the whole context object, and then you can destructure it. Those who are familiar with useContext will have probably done something like this before. Am I right? Yeah? Yeah. So at that point, you may be thinking, oh, well, I only care about the items in the context, but the line above it is basically saying, oh, well, I want to listen to the whole context. So then you've got that whole drama of, right, well, I want to wrap this chunk of my app in this provider, and I want to wrap this chunk of this app in this provider, and you end up just having polluted code with different providers, having different states and all that kind of stuff. However, in Zustand, if you wanted a basket store, and then say you were doing, I don't know, users, you can just spin one up. Just do like a user store, and you basically just create your user store. So you could have something like that, you know what I mean? And then anytime you want to use something, I don't know, on the navigation bar, say we wanted to have welcome grant or whatever, you can basically turn around and say, right, okay, I want to subscribe to the use basket store, but I only want the total and the items, but I also want my username from the login store. You could also have like an agree to terms and conditions. So you could have it on every page, you could have a component that listens to whether you've agreed to the terms and conditions, and if you haven't, you can't access the site. You can start plugging in middleware, so you can start saying, well, okay, do this, do that. The other thing that you can do in Zustand is you can add subscribers. So you can say like, whenever this property is updated, go off and do something else. So it's like that, you can have that like really sort of event-driven model of, right, okay, somebody has clicked the agree to terms and conditions, okay, go off and unlock this part of the panel, unlock this part of the website, send out an email, make a fetch request to go and get some more data because, oh, they've signed up, right, okay, they've signed up, go and retrieve all that data from a database or retrieve the terms and conditions to now show the terms and conditions. You can have that really nice event-driven development. Again, I can take you through that at another time. I can do another session or lunch and learn session or something if people are interested. Happy to take you guys through it.